This should be played at high volume.
Welcome to Outta Pocket. Here's your host, Michael Davis.
It's time to get out of pocket. I'm your host, Michael Davis, joined by my fellow wrestling podcast host. He hosts Mouthing Off with Mike. We got Mike, the other Mike. And we also are joined by producer Desmond Johnson. Des, we held down the fort yesterday, me and Esteban, talking all the things, talking NBA playoffs, talking a few Texas things. It was a packed show. And I'm glad we are not canceled and off the air as of this Tuesday.
The building's still standing, so yeah, you did a good job. So
the building's still standing, and we got a big show for you today. We'll do Top Rope Tuesday about midway through for our wrestling fans. Mike and I have a big wrestling community we're building on Twitter, and Mike was in a promo battle just the other night. So if you haven't checked that out, viewer discretion is advised. So when it comes to the NFL, there's a few star wide receivers missing. Now, these are voluntary OTAs right now. Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, and T. Higgins are all uncontracted next year, and they're all skipping OTAs in hopes that they can get a long-term deal done first. People don't need to freak out because this is voluntary. It doesn't become mandatory until June 4th. So we still have a couple more weeks left before that, 2 weeks from today on a Top Rope Tuesday that will be on for Out Pocket. So if any of these guys miss those in a couple weeks, we'll be on talking about it. But, you know, they're skipping OTAs, the voluntary ones right now. Do you guys make a big deal about this? With them missing time to improve themselves and improve the team? Mike, I'll start with you.
No, I don't see this as a big deal. I mean, we've seen this in the past from a lot of players. You know, a lot of players, you know, they skip those voluntary OTAs. When you got three wide receivers who are all looking at potential big year contracts coming up, it's very interesting to say the least. So no, I'm not surprised by this. I'm intrigued to see who gets a deal and who doesn't, to be honest.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, you know, when we talk about deals. Des, who do you think would get their deal first, Jefferson, Lamb, or Higgins? Because whoever gets their deal first, they probably set the market.
probably Higgins. I would think Higgins gets his first, followed by Lamb. I think Jefferson would get his last. If he's smart, he'd be the one that waits to see what the other two get, because Justin Jefferson, would you say he's the number one wide receiver in the NFL today?
Oh, absolutely.
So he needs to just sit back and wait and see what the market dictates for. Really, Lamb is the one to watch for Jefferson, because whatever Lamb gets from Dallas, Jefferson's going to top that to set the market. So I don't expect to see Justin Jefferson at all in the OTAs. There's no reason for him to be there until he gets his deal done. Kind of the same with CD. T. Higgins is probably the tipping point. Like once he gets signed, then it kind of starts the market reset again. So I'd say Higgins first, and then Lamb, and then Jefferson.
Now, what people, tend to forget, CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson actually have the same agent. So that makes these contract negotiations a lot more interesting. Like, okay, does this agent feel like he's going to be able to get more out of Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys, or is he going to get more from Justin Jefferson? Because, I mean, I think we all agreed Jefferson is the number one receiver in the NFL.
100%. I think if anybody, Jefferson probably gets the most. I think so. I think he'll get the most money at the end of the day. I mean, like Des said, CD and T probably go first. I think if out of those three names, maybe T doesn't get the deal. Maybe he does get dealt out. I don't know what Cincinnati's plans are, for the future. We got Joe, Anakin Skywalker, Burrow, behind the line now. I don't know if you guys saw that picture yesterday on social media. He looks just like Anakin Skywalker for my Star Wars fans. So I don't know what's going on in Cincinnati, and if they're turning to the dark side and they're getting rid of T. Higgins, I don't know.
You brought up an interesting point about potentially one of these guys getting traded. Let me throw this scenario out at you. And I don't know if either team wants to do it. Honestly, I don't think Minnesota would want to do it. But what if we saw two of these guys swap places? We send T. Higgins away from Cincinnati to go to Minnesota, build around J.J. McCarthy. Maybe T. Higgins takes a little bit less money than Jefferson would demand. And meanwhile, you pair Justin Jefferson with his former LSU teammates, Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. Am I out of pocket for that, Mike?
It's an interesting thought process because, you're basically taking I don't want to cut slack on social media or anybody viewing, but I think at that point, you're taking a guy who's a 1A, you're replacing him with a 1B. And I just don't know if that's smart for Minnesota to do in the long run, especially with a rookie quarterback like J.J. McCarthy coming in. If J.J. McCarthy does end up getting slotted in as the starter, for week one, I think he's got a better chance at being a better player with a weapon like Justin Jefferson at his disposal. Not to put T. Higgins down. He's a fantastic player. But if I'm, a coach or a GM and I'm looking at my rookie quarterback coming into a situation, where we've made improvements on both sides of the football and we retained our best wide receiver, I think that kind of gives him a little bit more of a kind of like, ooh, I can breathe a little bit. Like I can just throw that ball and Justin Jefferson's going to get it for me. Where it's like T. Higgins with a rookie quarterback. I don't think that's the situation T. Higgins is looking for. He's looking to win. He's looking for a veteran. So there is the potential T. Higgins goes somewhere where they already have an established quarterback. But then again, Cincinnati has an established quarterback, so he might stay. It all depends on what that money looks like at the end of the day. And as they say, right, fellas, money talks, and you know what the other stuff walks.
Everybody has a price for the $1 million man.
There it is.
As we all know, we'll get to wrestling here in a moment. We have a WWE Premium Live event this weekend that we'll preview here just in a moment. But let me incentivize the deal a little bit because, T. Higgins did help Joe Burrow out his, rookie year, help him get acclimated. Maybe you do T. Higgins and like a 3rd round pick and send that over to go get Justin Jefferson. Des, does that make the deal any sweeter?
I don't know if either team would at this point be looking to trade those wide receivers because the value is less because the draft is over. Like you would literally there's really no point. If they were going to trade them, they would have did it at the draft, in my opinion. But now to do it, now you're going into it. Your rosters are kind of set because free agency and the draft have flipped where free agency's first and then the draft, where it used to be the other way around, where then, yeah, maybe you can do trades after the draft's over because you didn't fill a need or whatever to that point. But at this point, you've pretty much filled in whatever you're going to fill in. And the only thing that's left out there is guys like Stephon Gilmore and older vets that are kind of waiting to see where they land. I don't think you're going to – I can't remember some sort of huge trade in this period of the calendar going into August. So, I mean, I understand the hypothetical, but I don't think that either team would be I don't think it'd be beneficial for either team to trade at this point. Although I would say T. Higgins, again, would be the most likely one to trade because I don't know what Cincinnati's doing. They're dismantled their offense in the offseason for some reason. Joe Mixon's in Houston. They never fixed the O-line. So, I mean, to me, I don't think it's feasible for either one of them to go. Again, I think just Jefferson's waiting for the market to settle so he can figure out what he doesn't want to get shortchanged, basically. If he's the number 1 wide receiver in football, he don't want to get paid like he's number 5. So it's kind of he'll just wait and see what everyone else does, and then he'll be the last to sign, just like the quarterbacks, and he'll reset the market for wide receivers, and he'll probably get who's the highest pay? I think it's Tyreek Hill at $30 million per. Like he'll probably
get 35,
36 per easy, maybe. So, and you can thank Kirk Cousins for that because we have not seen him with any other quarterback other than Kirk Cousins. So we'll see what it is.
I can't wait to see. Like that's a valid point Des brings up because like, what's Justin Jefferson going to look like with a new quarterback? Especially with a rookie quarterback. So that it makes things interesting. It makes things very interesting.
So does that put the leverage back in Minnesota in that case of like, hey, you did this with Kirk Cousins. I know we just let him walk to Atlanta of all places.
I don't think so. I don't think that hurts. I don't think that puts any sort of, favoring either side in this deal. I think let's be real here. If Justin Jefferson can put up the numbers he did with a Kirk Cousins, I mean, that's kind of, imagine what he could do, with a quarterback. But like, let's just say JJ McCarthy is a great guy. Let's just say he comes in, and he looks good, and he's got a better, he's a good arm. He's a younger kid. So things could work out in Justin Jefferson's favor. And we might be saying October, November, man, that JJ to JJ connection is unstoppable. So we'll find out in a few short months, I guess.
Mike just helped out Minnesota's Twitter and social media accounts right there. JJ to JJ. Shannon, commenting Joe's going to be running for his life next year behind that offensive line. You guys can be a part of our, show on the YouTube channel, Booking Like a Mark. At this point, it'd be premature to worry about CD. Hey, hopefully he's talking about this Mike and not that Mike.
Me.
I'm pretty sure he meant me because I can also be Mike. Des, I'd be remiss without mentioning T. Higgins was involved in Carolina Panther trade rumors. And, you mentioned the draft probably being like the best time to do it. The Panthers already got their receiver. So do you think that, outrules a potential T to Carolina? And, where would be his best stop?
For this year, yeah. Maybe next year, they might kick the tires on that. I think they were more focused on putting weapons around Bryce that were close to his age this year, so they could kind of grow together. And they did a pretty good job. Dan Morgan did a really good job in the draft and doing that, finding a tight end, a running back, Jonathan Brooks, who's got a little explosion to him, and Xavier Leggett. So, I mean, they've done their due diligence this offseason in terms of filling in holes and rebuilding the roster, really, which we didn't think they were going to be able to do. So it's made us cautiously optimistic about the Panthers in terms of they should win more than 2 games. So we've got that in our back pocket. So we feel a little better. But yeah, I don't think they were ever going to trade for a player or bring stars in or something like that to like a quick patch type thing. I think they're trying to build it from the foundation up. And T. Higgins needs to go to someone who's contending this year as opposed to a team that is building for the future. He's a receiver that can help like right now. Like I could see him like with the Rams or with I'm trying to think Kansas City or Miami, the Browns, like teams that are kind of just sitting there, the Ravens. Like I could see something like that happening. But for him to get traded to a place like Carolina, the only draw for T to come to Carolina at this point is as close to where he grew up, and that's really it. And where he went to college. There's nothing that he can see immediate that would result in him being like, ooh, I want to go to Carolina and play football there. Like nobody knows what it looks like yet. So if they have a good year, then yeah, they can start attracting folks like that coming in and coming back home.
Yeah, would be interesting to see if Carolina is a potential destination, depending on how that new regime goes. We'll be covering that a lot over the next few months. That's why you should subscribe to Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel. And we also cover some wrestling because it is Top Rope Tuesday. Mike takes time out of his busy day to hop on. He's producing content all over the world. And he's got a video to do for King and Queen of the Ring. He's got a video to do for AEW Double or Nothing. I'll be talking about that tomorrow on Drop the Mic as well when that drops on Wednesday. But looking at this King and Queen of the Ring tournament, I was super excited about it coming back. And now we have 2 of the finalists, Gunther for the King, Lyra Valkyria for the Queen. And it's we'll figure it out on Friday SmackDown between Randy Orton and Tama Tonga, who's going to wrestle Gunther, and Nia Jax and Bianca Belair to wrestle Lyra Valkyria. Now, I had Mike on the show for Drop the Mic a couple weeks ago, and I said, hey, watch out for Randy Orton to make his way to the King of the Ring finals, and that aged well, if I do say so myself. But looking at these King and Queen of the Ring, do you guys think they missed the boat on any of these matchups, or you feel like you're excited to see who wins the finals this Saturday? Mike?
I think this King and Queen of the Ring tournament, outside of WWE pivoting some of the qualifying matches in the first round to WWE live events, I feel like the King and Queen of the Ring was very effective this year in getting a couple stars over. Mainly Lyra Valkyria got over big time. Look at where she came from. Just a year ago. She was having battles, in NXT. She beat Becky Lynch for the NXT Women's Championship. She went on a crazy run. Now she gets called up to the main roster in the draft. Already within a month of being on the main roster. She's in the finals of the Queen of the Ring tournament. So fantastic work with WWE for keeping her momentum hot. There's a few other names in there that I wish that we would have seen kind of keep the momentum going, from the draft. But I'm thankful at least, we got Lyra in there. Very shocked at her beating Io on Raw Monday night. I audibly was like, whoa, like this is a huge upset. Io and Lyra had a fantastic match. I told you, like you told me about Randy, I told you King Gunther is more than likely the direction we're headed. Gunther in the finals here for the men's side, either taking on Orton or Mr. whatever he was doing on Friday night.
Devil. Yeah,
he's doing his Tasmanian Devil as Billy from the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy impersonation. He's doing his whatever. Speaking tongues, the voices in Randy Orton's head have materialized into a real life person, and it's Tama Tonga. I love that. I think Tama Tonga is super entertaining for what he did last week. But I personally, I'd like to see Gunther versus Randy Orton. Had Jey Uso beat Gunther, I would have probably put my money on Jey versus Tonga in the finals. But Gunther versus Randy Orton first time match, sign me up.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where it's heading to. Orton Gunther, King of the Ring. I think they missed a golden opportunity to kickstart the Bloodline storyline again. It makes me feel like they didn't pull the trigger on it because Roman's not going to be back for another month or two. So they're just kind of biding their time. But I was thinking before Monday night that it was going to be Jey Uso versus Tama Tonga in the final. And that was going to be either they were going to, Tama would win, they jump Jey, Jimmy saves, something to that effect. And you start this tango with Jimmy and Jey slowly reuniting or whatnot. And that'll probably start to happen. They're slow teasing something. But I wanted to say this because I don't know if I've said it on any of these shows yet the past couple of weeks, and I've noticed it, especially on Raw. Kudos to the camera work that they are doing right now. They are doing these. I was a film major in college, and they are doing these Martin Scorsese long one shots with no cuts, like at the very beginning, like where they're following in a wrestler. Like they'll start the wrestler at the beginning of the arena, like at the start of the show, and you'll come in with him, like through the arena, like behind him. So he's walking through the concourse, he's walking through the backstage, the gorilla, or whatever, and there's no cut. It doesn't cut to another camera. It's one dude following him around. And then he's out on the ramp. It's his entrance. I'm thinking Drew McIntyre, I think, was the one that did it 2 weeks ago. And he's on the ramp, and whoever's on the camera circles around to the front of him like it's the regular shot. So like you see it from back there all the way to the beginning of the show, and you don't hear the announcers really or anything, except for they did it with Sami Zayn too when he went out
in Montreal.
When he went through the crowd or whatever, same type of thing. And I'm noticing it. I'm just like, man, the camera. Whoever sat down with them and creative was like, look, let's switch up the camera stuff. We can use cordless cameras. It's 2024. We don't have to, stand in one place with like 8 cameras or whatever. And I noticed it immediately. I'm like, yo, who's doing the camera work all of a sudden? And it's gotten better and better like each week. It's one of the things I've noticed about WWE. Their camera work has become chef's kiss in terms of presentation and seeing stuff in the back that you normally don't see. Like they're layering stuff in the back when someone's getting interviewed. You're seeing stuff going on behind them that's like part of storylines. Like, what was it? It was Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio coming out of a room together or something a couple weeks ago.
And last night on Raw, Liv popping out of the car with Finn Balor.
What is going on?
I didn't catch that.
See, and that stuff's in the background. So you're like, what is happening? Like, what are they doing? They're doing these little small things like that. And that's part of the Paul Levesque era, the Triple H era. So I just want to put that out in the atmosphere so people know that people recognize it. They're doing excellent work with the camera stuff and the back stuff, and just the way the writing is, the storytelling is different. It's not like Vince where it was throw stuff at the wall 3 hours before the show. Let's see what works. This is layered out, like they're thinking about it. So I really appreciate it as a fan.
Now, they have stepped up their work on production, and I believe Kevin Dunn left the company around all the Vince McMahon stuff, and I feel like that's been a huge part of WWE having the creativity to be like, hey, let's do something different. Like, let's try it and see how it works. And if WWE is listening, we're liking it. Now, one thing that has been a little lackluster, according to some people, is Cody Rhodes as WWE champion. He defends the title this weekend against Logan Paul. There is a little bit of confusion whether the United States title is going to be involved in this. And then Logan rips up the contract and says, I'm not defending my title. I ain't agreed to this. So it's only going to be for the WWE championship. So to me, it feels like maybe the WWE title match is a little too predictable for this weekend when Cody Rhodes defends the title against Logan Paul. Is this hurting the start of Cody's title run? Because he did have a really great match against AJ Styles just about a month ago. But I mean, Cody's tasked with carrying the company because Roman's gone, Rock's gone, Seth's gone, Drew's hurt, Punk's hurt. Like that's a lot to put on one man's shoulders. Mike, do you think that's fair to say?
I mean, I'm outweighed on when it comes to this show anytime Cody's brought up, because
I'm just asking.
It's a very hot topic here on Out of Pocket. I think Cody is doing a great job with what his role has been. He's been the champ for a little over a month now, if barely, a month fully now, a month and like 2 weeks, let's just call it. I have no issues with WWE kind of swerving us out of the US title versus, WWE championship, title for title, winner take all scenario. Because, let's be real here. If Cody were to win that US title, you get put into a booking corner, because how can your WWE champion effectively drop that US title while still looking strong and dominant as a champion, right? When Roman won both belts, they didn't have him drop either belt. They just combined both of them anyway and made a new championship. So it's tough for me to say and say, like, I knew WWE was going to swerve us, and I like the way they did it, using Logan Paul's cowardice as the reason. He's a coward. He said, well, no, I'm not defending my championship. You didn't do anything for my championship to earn a title opportunity for. But meanwhile, Logan, with the hypocrisy, what did he do to earn his title opportunity against Cody? Absolutely nothing. So I love that little kind of like nuance to it. I think Cody's fine as champion. I said this numerous times on my show. Just take a deep breath, do your box breathing. In for 3, out for 4. It's going to be okay, guys.
That's a solid point. I didn't think about just how they built Logan Paul to be a heel in that moment of like, hey, I didn't earn a title opportunity for you, but you didn't earn a title opportunity for me. I'm not putting my title on the line. Des, I know you've kind of like not lost interest in WWE because they're still doing great stuff, but like, I don't know if this is as entertaining as it was for Roman and the Bloodline. And that's a high bar to go above.
I mean, there's a couple of factors going on. NBA playoffs are going on. Stanley Cup playoffs are going on. It's the aftermath of WrestleMania. Some consider one of the greatest WrestleMania main events of all time. So we were at a high, and then Seth, like you said, Seth's gone, Roman's gone, Punk is injured, McIntyre's injured. Like the top card is like out right now. So what you're kind of seeing is a lot of upper end mid carders kind of carrying the show. And as for Cody, it seems like they didn't really have much of a plan after he won in terms of what was his next adversary be. Like, it feels like Cody needs some sort of group to feud with, because if you beat Roman, then you're basically saying that, just one dude challenging me is not going to be enough at this point in my career. Like, you need to bring a crew with you in order to beat me, because I just beat Roman Reigns. You know what I mean? Like, they needed to build it logically so it makes sense. And there aren't any groups right now that I feel like would be a direct challenge to Cody. They're going to keep Bloodline away from him for a while, even though they're both on SmackDown. Judgment Day's got their own situation going on where I don't even know. It feels like Damian Priest is turning babyface. So I don't know what that situation is. And to be honest, they kind of feel like a group of jobbers without Rhea Ripley in the room, like kind of controlling traffic. So not sure what's going to happen there. I'd love it if Finn took that over and challenged Damian Priest. So I don't know. As for Cody, I'm not going to put it on him because, again, it's a weird part of the calendar where they've got this PLE in Saudi Arabia, and sometimes they're throwaway PLEs. we talked about it a couple weeks ago that rarely something major happens on it in terms of a title change, unless it has something to do with when you mentioned the Universal title changes with Goldberg and others. To be honest, back then, the Universal title was kind of a joke. It wasn't considered the main belt back then. Like it was like the part-timers belt. You know what I mean? So real changes don't really happen at this pay-per-view. So I've said Cody versus Logan Paul is going to be some kind of DQ. It's got DQ written all over it. I just don't know what it's going to be or who's going to be involved or what. Maybe this is when you see God and Solo attack Cody or something to that effect. I don't know. I have no idea what they're planning on doing, but it can't just be let's run a tournament to see who's the number one contender like every month, and then you throw them up against Cody and there's no build up, and then you just start over. You just hit repeat like for the next month. Like they got to start building something as we get towards the build towards SummerSlam.
I mean, it could be a great opportunity if you're looking for a faction or you're looking for not a clean finish. Why not the Wyatt Six?
That's what I'm saying. Thank you, Mike.
It is rumored they're going to debut at this pay-per-view. So I could actually, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. If they're going to put them on SmackDown, then yeah, I could see them maybe starting to kind of stalk Cody, I guess, or something to that effect.
Because you've noticed, like, they haven't mentioned anything on commentary up until last Friday where Wade Barrett was like, did you see that QR code?
They mentioned it last Monday as well.
Yeah.
Cole mentioned it last Monday, and the Twitch stream popped up last Monday on WWE. They followed up with it, or excuse me, on Raw. Cole mentioned it. Twitch stream they re-showed on SmackDown. Then last night, Cole and McAfee mentioned it again. So they're self-aware of it. They're even Cole's like, yo, these are getting kind of creepy. Like, what's going on with this? Last night, I think if there is any sort of shenanigans afoot, I think that might be a potential thing to keep an eye on is that Cody match.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be quite the debut for the Wyatt Six. I might sit on that and talk about it tomorrow on Drop the Mic. I'll kind of put something together to where I'm like, hey, that might actually be able to work. We got a couple minutes left here on Out of Pocket. Yesterday when Esteban was on, that episode's available on demand through the Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel. When I had Esteban on, I asked him, who's going to go to the NBA Finals? We got the Celtics Pacers in the Eastern Conference. Sorry, Mike, for your Knicks. We got the Mavs and Timberwolves in the West. So I'm going to pose that thing to you. I already did my picks yesterday. People can go back and watch. But, Mike, do you have picks for who's going to the NBA Finals and how many games it takes for them to get there?
I mean, I hate both of these teams, Celtics and Pacers. So, I mean, you're asking the wrong guy. I'm a Knicks fan. I'm still a little mourning. Shout out to the boys.
The Knicks did their thing. They ran out of bodies. Y'all hold your heads up high. Y'all are going to be a problem next year if you can keep some of these guys and keep some of the independent free agents. The Knicks have got a thing going finally for the first time in like 20 years. So I was impressed, and I hate the Knicks. I don't hate them, but I was a Bulls fan, so you know what I mean. Like I don't care for the Knicks. Yeah, but I was rooting for them. So yeah, the Knicks. You guys are going to be fine.
They had a heck of a run. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. We weren't supposed to be there this year. No one said we were going to be there this year. And shout out to the coach, man. I'm glad that we locked him down. For a couple more years. But if I had to give you a pick, I'm gonna take the team that's got a lot of momentum right now. I think the Pacers got a lot of momentum coming out of that series. So I'm gonna go Pacers and let's just say the Timberwolves. Pacers, Timberwolves.
Who would have picked that back in November to be the NBA Finals? The Indiana Pacers against the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Nobody.
I'm gonna go Timberwolves Celtics. I'm picking the Timberwolves over the Mavericks because Luka is still banged up. And Minnesota is playing the best defense I have seen in a long time, maybe since like the 90s in terms of like team defense. And Minnesota is the only one left where their star player can be off and they can still win the game. Like what they did in Game 7 on Sunday with Anthony Edwards having a bad night and literally everybody else picking up a pail and helping out. You couldn't contain one guy. It wasn't just Cat. It wasn't just Naz Reid. It wasn't just whoever, like it was all of them. And then Edwards kind of in the fourth quarter hit some daggers. I just like the way Minnesota's playing right now. They don't quit. They had every reason in the world to pack it in on Sunday. And I was actually listening to it on Sirius XM in the car, first half, and heard what was going on. I'm like, oh my gosh. And all the games have been like that, like blowouts really, once they got ahead. So I was like, okay, Denver might go ahead and clear this out. And then for some reason, once I got home, I decided to turn on the TV just to see what the final score was. And when I got there, I realized Minnesota was up 10. I'm like, what in the world? Like, what happened? Like, they had to went on like a 40-10 run or something nuts. And they did. They went like on a 56-24 run or something nuts for like 2 quarters. And I love the Timberwolves right now. I love what Anthony Edwards and Cat are doing. I love their interactions at the press conferences. They're just having fun. Like, they don't know any better. They don't know they're not supposed to be here. Did you see the interaction with them and the reporter asking, do you feel like you're here too early? Did you need to lose first? And they're like, what are you talking about?
I tagged you in that.
Yeah. It's like, we've been losing for 20 years. Like, we lost the playoffs last year. What do you want? How much more losing do you want? So I'm going Timberwolves Celtics. Celtics trying to finish the story. Timberwolves being yet a new speed bump. And we'll do predictions on that later. But I'm going to go Timberwolves Celtics right now.
Yeah, we'll have both of these series kick off, one tonight, one tomorrow night, and we'll be back Thursday for Out Pocket to break all that down. Be sure to go follow my guy, MOWM_podcast on all his socials. He's going to drop the WWE King and Queen of the Ring predictions. He's going to drop AEW Double or Nothing predictions. I have a huge Drop the Mic episode. We got Ryan Frick and Shan Smith back on the show. A couple more surprises and a first-time guest as well. Shout out Sean for watching us on our YouTube channel and all of you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Out Pocket will be back tomorrow. Subscribe to the Tobacco Road Sports Radio's YouTube channel so you don't miss Drop the Mic or Out of Pocket. And we'll be back Thursday. Everyone, have a great Tuesday.
Peace.